Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Ellyn Dunford.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It is my very distinct honor tonight to present the first Advocacy Award to Marjorie Morrison. Marjorie is a leader, an expert, and a visionary in the field of military mental health. As we all know, it can be easy to see the physical scars that affect veterans who have served this country in the military. It can be more difficult to see the mental health scars, but those can run deep and be slow to heal. Marjorie is a licensed clinician, a published author, and like Easter seals, Marjorie is an innovator. She has looked beyond the traditional therapist-client relationship to broaden her reach and her impact. Part of the reason that I serve on the Ambassador Committee for Easter Seals DC, Maryland, Virginia, is to break down barriers to mental health care. Marjorie founded the Psych Armor Institute to help break down these barriers and to bridge the military-civilian divide or improve the relationship. She built an organization and a movement to support our service members and to educate our civilian community. Talk about inspiring. Last year, Marjorie continued to innovate by partnering with Congressman Patrick Kennedy to create Psych Hub, an online platform providing free, engaging videos to educate all of us about mental health, substance abuse, and suicide prevention. She is changing the culture of mental health and helping all of us along the way. So please join me in recognizing the 2019 Advocacy Award recipient, Marjorie Morrison.
Wow. I am so incredibly humbled to be here tonight. Thank you. To have Ellyn Dunford present this award, I can't even tell you how much that means to me, especially on Military Spouse Appreciation Day. So we should appreciate all the military spouses out there. Thank you. I can tell you without a doubt that any of my work pales in comparison to the other honorees tonight, the Goldfines and the Martores. There's nothing more inspiring than a power couple, and tonight we get to honor two of the best. I'd also like to thank another power couple, Robin and Tom Portman. Those two give more than any two people I know with like the purest hearts. I'd also like to thank the incredible staff at Easter Seals, my friends, family, thank you, the Psych Armor board members, Patrick Murphy, Steve Schwab, Robin Portman, and Carol Eggert, whose birthday it is today, and Psych Armor's new CEO, Tina Atherall, who are all here tonight. I am so grateful for all of you to show up to support Easter Seals, who is truly leading the way on how they care for the elderly, people with disabilities, and veterans. My path here and in the MilVet space has been very, very different than most. I didn't serve in the military. I'm not a military spouse. I had no friends in the military. And although my dad served as a doctor in the military, it was during the draft, and it was before I was born. I was a psychotherapist for over 10 years before I ever stepped foot on a military base. And so through a series of random circumstances, and I truly mean that, I got an opportunity to do a 5-week stint at Marine Corps Recruit Depot, San Diego. It was 2008. It was during pretty much the height of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, and I was so excited to work with soldiers. I had no idea or no clue that Marines weren't soldiers. I didn't know a thing. I just assumed all service members were broken, because that's what I knew. But I also was pretty sure that I single-handedly was going to come in on the base for 5 weeks and fix all of them with this thing called PTSD that I'd heard about on the media, but I absolutely knew nothing about. So as you could probably imagine, things didn't really work out for me exactly as I had planned. My first week as a therapist on base, not one person had come in to see me. And I quickly learned about stigma and that the Marines weren't pretty much likely to come in for help. So I had this idea that if they weren't going to get help, that I would bring the help to them. And so I pitched this idea to the 2nd Marine Battalion XO, who in truth was the only person that would listen to me. And I said, what do you think about we do group therapy? And I do a group therapy session with the drill instructors. And surprisingly, he agreed with me. And then he said, well, I got to take it up the chain for high cover. And I had no idea what that meant, but I left. And an hour later, he called me and he said, hey, I have great news. The hats will be ready for you at 1500. I had no idea what hats were. And I'm trying to figure out in my head what 1500 is. So I show up at 1500. Mind you, I'm right on time, but I didn't know that in the military on time is late. And I kind of need you to do a visual with me on this, of an overly confident person who has no idea what they don't know, walk into a room of 35 Marine Corps drill instructors, sitting in rows with big old hats. As I walk in the room, they all stood up, and I'm like, there must be someone really important behind me. And then I panicked, because in that moment, I thought, oh my God, what am I gonna do? So I immediately said, okay, wait, why don't you all move your chairs into a circle? But if you know Marine drill instructors, that took like 30 seconds, so that wasn't really enough time for me to think through. So I just thought, okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go around the room and we're each gonna say, tell me your name, where you're from, and where you live. See, like in the world I come from, that's a good, pretty common icebreaker. I'm from Los Angeles, I live in San Diego. So the first drill instructor gets up and he stands at attention and he says, hello ma'am, my name is Sergeant James, and I remember this. Can you please clarify your question, where are you from? Do you mean what company or battalion I'm with? Or what my last duty station was? And ma'am, this is pickup week. I live here at the depot with the recruits. So it was in that moment that I learned about cultural humility, a term used in mental health to describe being humbled by all you don't know about a specific population or group of people. I spent a year at MCRD, and I had the great honor of developing mandatory counseling and working with over 500 Marines. I promise you, I got way more out of that year than any of the Marines. I completely fell in love with the military, every aspect of it, and they used to tease me all the time and say, oh yeah, you drank the Kool-Aid. But my admiration and respect to the brave men and women who serve our country in the military will never falter. After spending some time at Camp Pendleton, developing a similar program for the 1st Marines, for infantry, I had lunch with a philanthropist who brought me to lunch and said, I barely knew her, but she said, I want to donate some money to a veteran nonprofit. Can I pick your brain? So I said, sure. So she said, where would my money be impactful? And I told her my perspective at the time, which is there are 40,000 nonprofits that support veterans. Less than 1% of our country is serving. We have about 10% military connected, which means there are about 90% of us that are like me, that don't understand the military. But yet, when service members transition out, we're their safety net. And that net has a lot of holes in it. If they use their GI Bill to go to school, we're their educators, their teachers. If they go back to work, we're their employers and their colleagues. If they use their commercial health insurance, we're their doctors and nurses. If they use the nonprofit resources, we're their volunteers. So thinking out loud, I said, there should be some sort of online platform where people could come, and I mean, literally, I thought this in the moment. Like, people could come and they could learn in the moment about all things military veteran. But it should be free and best in class. And so she said, well, what do you think that would cost? And I'm like, I don't know. Only thing I knew was that I did not want to start a nonprofit. That was all I knew. And so I said, I don't know, maybe like $500,000. And the crazy thing is that she seemed really interested, which was scary. The next day, her assistant called me and said, Becky wants you to start a nonprofit and build an online library on how to support veterans, but she thinks you're grossly underestimating what it would cost, so she's going to give you $2 million so you don't have to worry about fundraising. And that is how Psych Armor was born. The name actually came, and I don't know how many people know this, but the name actually came from the program that we did with the Marine Corps. So once again, like when I walked in like an idiot onto MCRD, I once again embarked on something I knew nothing about. And to date, 4.5 years later, Psych Armor hosts over 150 free courses. It's educated over 1 million people and has over 400 partners, including almost every branch of the government. I learned firsthand how a movement can happen through online education. The deeper I dove into military mental health, the more I learned that the issues veterans face are the same that all Americans face. From over 100 Americans dying a day from an opiate overdose, to 1 death of suicide every 12 minutes, and 1/4 of the working population suffering from burnout, our nation is in the midst of a mental health crisis. Last year, I made a very difficult decision to leave Psych Armor, although thankfully they let me stay on the board. I started a new company with Patrick Kennedy called Psych Hub. Psych Hub launched just a few weeks ago. We have over 100 free 3 to 4 minute videos on mental health, substance use, and suicide prevention. We feel the Psych Hub videos are unlike anything you'll see in the mental health education space, and we're hopeful that these videos will make a movement. Our mission at Psych Hub is to share mental health and addiction education with the world. So I'd like to take this opportunity on behalf of myself, Patrick Kennedy, our founding sponsors, Optum, who is here tonight, and Johnson & Johnson, that you join us in our efforts to remove the stigma around mental health. Get educated, share your stories, show compassion, and don't judge. We should never, ever, ever accept that it's okay to lose more lives at home than on the battlefield. Together, and only together, can we change the current mental health climate. Thank you for this honor from the bottom of my heart.